I'm 81 years old. I was married to my husband Harry for 54 years. Everyone said we were the steady ones, the couple who made it look easy, and maybe we did, from the outside. But 3 weeks after I buried him, I found letters in his desk. Letters to a woman named Ellen, a woman he'd been visiting every day for years, while I thought he was taking walks for his heart. 90 minutes. Every single day. I thought I knew this man. I didn't know anything. The morning after we buried Harry, I set out 2 coffee cups. 54 years of habit. You don't think about it, your hands just know. 2 cups from the cabinet, 2 spoons, the sugar bowl between them. I stood there in that kitchen, sunlight coming through the window the same way it had every morning since 1970, and I stared at that second cup like it had betrayed me. It hadn't. Not yet. That came later. I thought I knew my husband. You think 54 years means something. You think you've mapped every corner of a person, how they take their coffee, which knee hurts when the rain's coming, what makes them laugh. Harry didn't laugh much, but I knew the sound of it. I knew the way he'd fold his newspaper into quarters, precise as a letter. I knew he liked his eggs over easy, and his silence undisturbed. I knew the walk. Every day at 10 in the morning, Harry would put on his grey jacket, the one with the loose button I kept meaning to fix, and he'd head out the door. Good for the heart, he'd say. Doctor's orders. 90 minutes, like clockwork. 90 minutes. Every single day. I thought it was discipline. Turns out it was compartmentalization. 3 weeks after we buried him, my daughter Denise came to help with the paperwork. The insurance forms, the bank accounts, the endless small cruelties of death administration. She was in his office, the little room off the hallway where Harry had sat every evening for half a century, when she called out to me, "Mama, what are these?" I walked in and she was holding a bundle of letters, tied with a rubber band, pulled from the bottom drawer of his desk, the drawer I'd never opened because it was his desk, his space, his silence that I'd learnt to live around. I took them from her. I recognized Harry's handwriting before I recognized anything else. The name at the top, Dear Ellen. I should tell you about Ellen Marchand, 63 years old, a widow from the community centre where Harry volunteered on Tuesdays. Grey hair, soft face. I found her photograph later, tucked behind Harry's driver's license, like something precious he needed to keep close. Not hidden, not displayed, just carried. The letters weren't love letters. Not the way you might imagine, no poetry, no passion, no confessions of the body. They were something worse. They were intimate. Harry wrote to this woman about his childhood, about his father, who never told him he was proud, about the silence he grew up in, the silence he inherited, the silence he brought into our marriage like luggage he didn't know he was carrying. He wrote about feeling unseen, about the weight of being the provider, and never knowing if it was enough. He wrote, "You listened to me in a way no one else ever has." I read that line 4 times. Then I read it again. 54 years I was married to this man, and I never once heard him say I listened to him, because I don't think I ever did. Or maybe, and this is the thing I can't stop turning over, maybe because he never tried to speak. Not to me, not in a language I could hear. Denise wanted to be angry for me. He lied to you, Mama. All those years. And he did. He lied. But I keep asking myself, what exactly was he lying about? An affair. The letters never said so. Not directly. But they didn't need to. The betrayal wasn't about bodies. It was about attention. The romantic energy I'd waited decades to see. The tenderness, the openness, the willingness to be known. He gave it to someone else. Ellen got the version of Harry I kept hoping would walk through my door. I need to tell you about a night in 1992, our 30th anniversary. Harry made reservations at a restaurant in the French Quarter, the kind of place with white tablecloths and candles and waiters who call you ma'am. I wore the blue dress, the one I saved for special occasions. I spent an hour on my hair, and I thought, tonight he'll say something. 30 years, he has to say something. We sat at that table for 2 hours. Harry talked about the kids, about the house, about the roof that needed patching, about his retirement plans. He talked about the shrimp, which he said was overcooked. He talked about the traffic on the way over. Not once did he mention us. Not once did he say anything about me, about what I meant to him, about the 30 years we'd built together. I cried the whole drive home. Harry kept glancing over, confused. What's wrong? I thought it was a nice dinner. He didn't understand. That was the worst part. He genuinely didn't understand, and I stopped trying to explain. That was the year I gave up expecting more from Harry. Reading those letters now, I realize that was around the same time he started looking for more somewhere else. Not cause and effect. I don't think it works that neatly, but parallel retreats. Both of us stepping back from the center of the marriage. Both of us deciding the other person was never going to change. Both of us building walls, and then wondering why we felt so alone. I spent 30 years waiting for Harry to see me. Maybe he was waiting for me to see him too. We were both standing at closed doors, wondering why no one knocked. I want to be clear, I'm not excusing him. What Harry did, the secret, the lies, the years of walking out that door and going to her, that was his choice. His failure. I will carry the wound of it for whatever time I have left, but I am 81 years old, and I have learned that anger is a room you can decorate however you want, but you still have to live in it. I don't want to die in that room, so I've been trying to understand. Harry grew up in a house where his father worked, and his mother obeyed, and nobody talked about feelings, because feelings were weakness. He learned that providing was loving, that presence wasn't required, just provision. He gave me a roof, a car, a life, and he thought that was enough because no one ever taught him it wasn't. I made him the villain in my head for years, even while he was alive, the cold husband, the emotionally absent man. And he was those things, but he was also a man who never learned how to ask for what he needed, and I never learned how to offer it without being asked. I considered confronting Ellen. I drove past her house once. Little blue shutters, flowers in the window boxes. I sat in my car for 10 minutes, hands on the wheel. What would I say? He loved you? I already know. Did you love him? I don't want to know. Ellen isn't the villain either. She's a widow who found companionship with a lonely man. The anger I want to feel keeps dissolving into something sadder, something without edges. Did Harry love me? I think so, in his way, but his way wasn't enough for me, and my way, the waiting, the silence, the swallowed needs, wasn't enough for him. We stayed married 54 years, and we both died a little of loneliness, right there in the same house. I don't forgive him. That word doesn't fit in my mouth. I don't know if it ever will, but I understand something now that I didn't before. Harry was lonely too, and I never asked. Not once in 54 years did I sit across from him at that kitchen table and say, "Are you lonely? Is there something you need that you're not getting?" I assumed I knew him. I assumed the silence was enough. It wasn't. I want to talk to you now. You, watching this. You lying next to someone tonight, thinking you know them. You think 54 years means something. It does, but it doesn't mean you know their heart. Ask them something tonight. Something real. Not how their day was. You already know how their day was. Ask them what they're afraid of. Ask them if they're lonely. Ask them if there's something they've never told you. Don't wait until you're 81, sitting in an empty kitchen, sorting through a dead man's desk, to find out who he was. Pastor Ron, the minister who did Harry's funeral, he said something that bothered me at the time. He said we never fully know another person, we just love them anyway. I thought it was a cop-out, a way of excusing Harry's secrets, but I've been turning it over these past months, and I think Pastor Ron might have told the only truth about marriage there is. You never fully know them, you love them anyway, and you keep asking, you keep knocking on the door. Harry and I stopped knocking. We both just waited, and now the door is closed forever. I'm sitting at the kitchen table this morning, 1 coffee cup. I stopped setting out 2 last month. My wedding ring is on my right hand now. I'm not his wife anymore. I'm something else. A widow. A woman who loved a man she didn't know. The chair across from me is empty. I look at it every morning. I wonder what would have happened if I'd asked the questions earlier. If I'd said, "Harry, I need you to talk to me. I need you to let me in." Would he have? Could he have? I'll never know. But you still can. You're still in the marriage. The chair across from you isn't empty yet. The questions haven't run out. The time hasn't run out. I loved a man I didn't know, and I'll spend whatever time I have left learning to live with that. You don't have to. If this found you at the right moment, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And tonight, go have that conversation.